Okay, let's unpack this. You know that moment, that little, jolt of triumph? When a tricky new English word finally clicks. You
Mm-hmm.
grasp its meaning, maybe even think, okay, I can use this, and then, poof, it just slips away. Like
Yeah.
trying to grab smoke. I swear, I was feeling pretty good about ephemeral last week. Picture the mayfly, the whole thing.
Right.
Next day, brain just shrugged. It's infuriating.
It really is. And it's frustratingly common. It makes people think, what's wrong with my memory?
Exactly.
But that's what we're diving into today. Not just the frustration, but, why it happens, and more importantly, what we can actually do about it.
Okay.
Think of this as a guided tour into how memory works with language and how we can make those connections, those vocabulary links, much stronger.
And we're really excited to have you with us today. I'm already thinking of you as our, memory maestro, vocabulary virtuoso.
Oh, well.
What's really encouraging, I think, is your perspective that memory isn't, fixed. It's a skill, something
Yeah.
we can train. Welcome to the deep dive.
Thanks for having me. And you've hit on a really key point there, that feeling. A word just vanishing. It's usually not a sign your brain is broken.
Okay.
It often just means we haven't quite engaged our brains in the best way yet, the most effective way to hold on to that new bit of language.
So our mission for this deep dive, and believe me, I am personally invested in this one, is to really dig into those right hooks for the brain.
Yeah.
The smart little tricks to help us not just meet new words, but actually remember them.
Exactly. We're aiming to move past that, ugh, I forgot it again feeling,
Great.
and get into some real actionable strategies, things that make learning vocabulary, stickier, more
Yeah.
effective, more long-lasting.
Okay, so let's start with something most of us have probably tried. The classic word list.
Ah, yes. Go there.
We see the new words, maybe definitions next to them, we read them, try to, burn them into our brains. And then, like we said, the forgetting kicks in. Why is this such a go-to, but honestly, often so disappointing?
Well, it really boils down to how our brains are wired, how they like to process and hold on to information.
Okay.
Our brains thrive on context, on connections, on emotion even. Seeing how something new relates to what we already know.
Right.
A word just sitting there on a list, in isolation, it lacks all of that. It's just a detached piece of data. And our brains aren't great at passively storing disconnected facts like that. They're just not built for it.
It really clicks. It's kind of like trying to stick a magnet to, a wooden door. There's nothing for it to grab onto.
Precisely. Or think of it like this, trying to hang a heavy coat on a completely smooth, featureless wall.
Yeah, it'll just slide right off.
Exactly. There's no hook, no nail, nothing for it to anchor to. Isolated words are like that coat on the smooth wall. They lack those connections needed to sort of integrate into our existing mental network, our knowledge.
So the brain just sees these lonely words and thinks, doesn't seem important. No context flagged. Mental recycle bin.
That's often what happens, yeah. Rote memorization, just repeating things over and over, it can work for some stuff. Maybe a phone number you need right now.
Right. Short term.
But for something rich and interconnected like vocabulary, it's usually a struggle, it's not engaging, it doesn't trigger deeper processing, and frankly, it can be pretty boring.
Definitely boring.
And when our brains get bored, they tend to check out, look for something more interesting.
Okay, so word lists are largely out. Message received.
Yeah.
So let's move on to the good stuff. These genius and maybe slightly silly memory hacks you mentioned. I am definitely ready for some absurdity if it means I can finally remember what ephemeral means tomorrow.
Wonderful. Let's definitely explore some more engaging ways to build those memory connections that actually last.
Let's dive into hack number 1, the ridiculous visual association. This sounds like fun already.
It really is. This technique taps straight into our brain's visual memory system, which is incredibly powerful. The more vivid, the more unexpected, the more downright bizarre the mental image you create, the better it's likely to stick.
Bizarre is better.
Often, yes. The trick is to forge a strong link, ideally using multiple senses if you can, between the word itself and its meaning.
Okay, give us an example. Let's say gregarious, meaning sociable, likes company.
Excellent word. Okay, gregarious. Now picture this, just for a second. Imagine a giant neon green.
Goose.
A goose, okay. Captures that grease sound, right? This goose isn't just any goose. It's wearing a tiny, sparkly party hat and huge Groucho Marx-style sunglasses.
Lila.
And it's not just standing there. It's leading a conga line, enthusiastically.
Conga line.
Yeah, of like the most unlikely animals, Maybe a very serious-looking badger is behind it, a squirrel that keeps giggling, a surprisingly nimble elephant bringing up the rear.
Wow.
This goose is clearly the life of the party, totally sociable. It's a gregarious goose, can you see it? Maybe even hear some, slightly wonky party music. Smell some weird goose-flavored cake.
A gregarious green goose. Conga line. Sunglasses. Goose cake. Okay, yes. That image is certainly memorable. So out there, my brain is definitely paying attention now. I can almost hear that honking conga beat.
Exactly. The sillier, the more unexpected, the stronger that memory trace is likely to be. It just stands out.
All right, I'm sold on bizarre poultry power. What's hack number 2?
Hack number 2 is all about story time. Make it personal or preposterous.
Story time up.
Our brains are natural story processors. We love narratives. We remember stories much better than isolated facts.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So by weaving a new vocabulary word into a little mini-story, you give it context. You give it a sequence, something your brain can grab onto more easily.
Okay, so how do we do that? Let's take ubiquitous, meaning found everywhere.
Perfect. Ubiquitous. Think about something you see everywhere, something that seems omnipresent. Maybe it's those delivery bikes or a specific type of ad you keep noticing.
Yeah.
Now, build a tiny story around it using ubiquitous. Like maybe my Uncle Barry, wrapped in his favorite quilt, is ubiquitous. Honestly, I see him in that quilt everywhere I go.
Chuckles. Uncle Barry in his ubiquitous quilt.
Right. Or playing on the sound of it. Those darn U-Haul bicycles are quite ubiquitous around campus. See them everywhere.
I like the Uncle Barry one. It makes it personal, grounds the word somehow.
Yeah.
And the U-Haul one is clever with the sounds. So it's about creating these little mental movies.
Exactly. Little scenarios where the word has a starring role tied to your own experience or just something completely made up.
So which works better usually? Personal stories or totally crazy fictional ones?
That's a great question. Personal ones often have an edge. They tap into your own life story, your autobiographical memory, which is usually pretty strong. Plus, any emotional connection helps. But totally fictional, even absurd stories can be just as good, sometimes better. Because they're novel, they're unusual, they stand out. The main thing is engagement, creating a narrative, real or not, that grabs your attention.
Okay, got it. Makes sense. What's next in our memory toolkit?
Hack number 3 is word karaoke. Sing it. Say it weird.
Word karaoke. I like the sound of that already.
This one uses the power of rhythm, melody, even just plain silliness in how we say the words. Our brains really tune into auditory patterns and variations.
So we're basically turning vocab practice into a performance. How does this work? Let's pick a tricky one. Like onomatopoeia. Feels awkward just saying it.
Excellent choice. Prime candidate for vocal weirdness. You could try saying it. Pick a familiar tune, like remember supercalifragilisticexpialidocious?
Oh, yeah?
Try fitting onomatopoeia into that rhythm. Sing slightly. Onomatopoeia, even though the sound of it is something quite atrocious.
Okay.
Or just try saying it in a funny voice. Imagine a really stuffy butler carefully saying onomatopoeia, and maybe a robot voice.
Robot voice. Onomatopoeia, sound, word, link.
Established.
Trying robot voice. Onomatopoeia.
Yeah.
That actually works. It's kind of sticking now.
Right. The physical act of just doing something different with the sound makes the word pop. It engages another sense.
It gives it a unique sound signature or something.
Precisely. An acoustic tag your brain can find more easily later on.
Okay, this is great. What's the final hack you have for us in this section?
The last one for this bit is the physical word acted out.
Acted out.
Yeah. This connects the word to movement, to physical sensation. It taps into what's called kinesthetic memory.
So like vocabulary charades.
Kind of, yeah. When you physically embody a word's meaning, you create a much deeper, more multi-layered memory. Let's try it. Exasperated.
Oh, I know that feeling well. Daily sometimes.
Perfect. So next time you see that word or want to lock it in, physically act exasperated, throw your hands up, axe it out slightly, big sigh, maybe roll your eyes dramatically, and say the word while you do it. X-A-S-paraded.
Okay, let me try. Mimics actions maybe less dramatically. XAS paraded.
Yeah. The bigger the action, often the better the imprint. You're involving your whole body.
I can definitely feel how that works. It's not just mental anymore. It's physical. You're being the word.
Exactly. You're creating a physical anchor for that abstract idea the word represents.
Okay, wow. I feel like my brain just got a serious toolkit upgrade.
Yeah.
These are fantastic, but the real test is using them, right? You mentioned having a few tricky words for me to try these hacks on. I'm feeling slightly nervous, but also kind of excited now.
Absolutely. Let's put these techniques right into action. Ready for a little vocabulary challenge?
As ready as I'll ever be. Bring 'em on.
All right, first word is pulchritudinous, spelled Pulchritudinous. It means breathtakingly beautiful.
Pulchritudinous.
Okay.
Brain immediately scanning for ridiculousness.
Yeah.
Pulchritudinous. Okay. Pull chair.
Well,
Like a rickshaw. Being pulled by a tiny chicken
Mm.
for the crick sound.
chuckles. Go on.
And the pull chair is an incredibly tough dude. Tudinous. But this tough dude is just stunningly beautiful, radiant. So a pull chair pulled by a chicken carrying a beautiful, tough dude.
Pulchritudinous. It's utterly bonkers, but I think that image is definitely stuck now.
That is wonderfully donkers, and that's exactly the point. Unexpected equals memorable. Okay, next word. Ephemeral. Ephemeral, the one you mentioned earlier, lasting a very short time. Rematch.
Ephemeral. Okay, story time for this one. My imaginary pet, Effie the elephant.
Effie the
It
elephant.
had a shimmering mermaid, but it was all a dream. Just a fleeting moment, then gone.
Effie the elephant with a temporary mermaid tail. Ephemeral. Yes. Okay, I think I've finally got a handle on that one. Thank you, Effie.
Fantastic. Great connection making there. Really creative. Okay, last one for this round. Discombobulated. Discombobulated, meaning confused and disorganized.
Discombobulated. Oh, definitely physical word time. Maybe mixed with word karaoke.
Go for it.
Okay, I'm going to sort of spin around in my chair a bit. Mine's a slight wobble. Maybe pat my head and rub my tummy and say in a wobbly voice, "Discombobulated, man. I'm so discombobulated." The physical feeling of being off balance, plus the funny voice saying the word. Yeah, that really nails the meaning. Confusion central.
Absolutely brilliant. See, you used different techniques, even combined them, and you created really memorable hooks for all three words. It just shows your memory isn't a sieve. It just needs these more engaging, almost playful ways in, like little party tricks for your brain.
This is so encouraging. Seriously. I feel like I actually have a strategy now instead of just staring blankly at words. But, okay, these hacks are great for getting the words in. What about keeping them there? How do we stop them doing that fading act over time?
Yes. The crucial next step, making it stick. Reinforcement.
Right.
Think of those hacks, the goose, Uncle Barry, acting exasperated, like throwing a really fun welcome party for your new words.
Okay, I like that.
But to make sure they become permanent residents, part of your long-term vocabulary, you need to invite them back regularly. They need to remember the way to the party house in your brain.
So we can't just rely on that first crazy image or story, one and done.
Not usually, no. Those initial hooks are powerful. They get the word in. But consistent review is what really strengthens the neural pathways, makes the memory durable.
Review sounds less fun than goose conga lines.
But it doesn't have to be boring. That's the key. Review can mean revisiting your silly image, retelling yourself that preposterous story, doing a bit of word karaoke in the shower.
Okay, I can picture myself belting out pulchritudinous with the shampoo.
Exactly. Make it active, make it playful, integrate it. And remember that idea of spaced repetition.
Vaguely, review it less often over time.
Exactly. You review more frequently right at the start, maybe later the same day, the next day, then wait a few days, then a week, then longer. You reinforce the memory just before it starts to fade significantly.
Okay.
You could even make flashcards, but instead of just the definition, draw your ridiculous image on one side. That visual cue is much stronger.
A flashcard with a chicken pulling a tough dude.
Got it. It's like, You have to sort of date your words for a while, nurture the relationship, keep those neural pathways active.
Dating my words. Okay, I can work with that analogy. Nurturing the neural pathways.
That's the essence of it. Keep interacting with them in those memorable ways.
This has been absolutely fantastic, really eye-opening. You've given me not just practical tools, but you've made learning vocabulary feel, well, less like a chore and actually kind of fun. My inner goldfish is officially on notice.
My pleasure. Honestly, the key is just to experiment. Find what clicks for you. And don't be afraid to be silly. Learning really should be engaging.
And for you listening, what about you? What are some of your own wonderfully weird, effective memory tricks? We'd genuinely love to hear them.
For me, I think that ridiculous visual association